Kokinda, and I'm the staff hearing officer, and I'm going to open the staff hearing officer meeting of September 21st, 2022. And let's see. First, I'm going to start off with preliminary matters. Any requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or addition of X agenda items? I did not receive any. And I do not, well, let's see, any announcements or appeals? I have nothing that's been appealed, just an announcement for anyone. We do have our openings for the different advisory board recruitment is happening right now throughout citywide. We've got openings on the different design review boards and the planning commission. So if you're interested, please look into the details about that and get applications in before October 10th. And then I'm going to open up public comment from members of the public pertaining to items not on today's agenda.
Thank you. We did not receive any speaker slips, and I do not see anyone in the webinar, and we did not receive any written correspondence.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go ahead and close public comment. And going on to our first item, which is 211 Oliver Road. This is a 6,165 square foot lot, and it's developed with a 1,855 square foot two-story single-family residence, a 244 square foot one-car garage, and a 206 square foot one-car carport. The project consists of the demolition and reconstruction of the 793 square feet of the ground floor and the addition of a 107 square feet on the first floor and 60 square feet on the second floor, the floor at the former stairwell. The discretionary application required for this project is an interior setback modification to allow an addition within the interior setback along the north property line. And let's see. All right, we have Ms. Broadison here today as the case planner. Whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your presentation.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Kokinda. Yes, Kelly Broadison with Community Development. 211 Oliver Road is the project address we're talking about today. The project site is located on the western portion of the mesa south of Cliff Drive. And you described the project. Thank you for doing that. It's a minor addition. Let's see. The purpose and intent of zoning setbacks is to provide light, access, and air circulation between property lines and structures. And the existing structure on this site is nonconforming to both the interior setbacks on both the north and south sides. Let's see, it's about 3'6" into the setback on the north property line. The applicant is requesting to demolish and rebuild a majority of the structure and proposes a minor kitchen addition at the rear of the structure within the south interior setback. The addition is approximately 107 square feet and would maintain the same plane as the existing building. So the addition is back in this section right here. So because the building is non-conforming, normally staff would ask if they were doing a substantial redevelopment that we would ask that the project, if it was being fully demolished, to comply with today's setbacks. However, the applicant was able to successfully demonstrate that they are not demolishing the structure and it would not qualify as substantial redevelopment. And let's see. So again, as I stated, the existing structure received a zoning modification in 1986, and the remodeled structure will not encroach further into the setback. The proposed addition represents an extension of approximately 6 feet for a total of 6 additional square feet within the setback. Therefore, staff believes that the modification to maintain the 5-foot encroachment into the south setback is supportable. Staff finds that the remodel and addition are necessary to secure an appropriate improvement on the lot and will result in a development that is consistent with the pattern of development. The proposal will not increase the distance of the encroachment and will not have an adverse impact on the adjacent neighbor and can be found consistent with the purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance. The project was reviewed by the Single Family Design Board on the consent calendar, and the consent reviewer found that the project was appropriate in mass, bulk, and scale for the neighborhood, and that the proposed changes were compatible with the existing structure. Also, the project is in the coastal zone. However, it is not located in environmentally sensitive habitat. It's not located within 50 feet of the edge of the coastal bluff, nor is it located between the sea and the first public road, so the project qualifies for a coastal exemption. And staff's determined that the project qualifies for a categorical exemption under section 15301, which allows for additions to existing facilities. For those reasons, staff recommends that the staff hearing officer approve the project, making the findings in the staff report. And the applicant, Mr. Dassler, is here to provide a quick presentation for his project.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Brodesson. I'd like to invite the applicant up. And if you want to walk me through your plans and your thinking and this particular request, and then we'll go from there.
Happy
And if
to-
you could just state your name for the record.
David Dassler. My wife and I are owners of the property, so I think the staff report addressed most of the issues, but I'll point out a couple of things if I can go.
So you can use the mouse to
Okay,
kind of,
better.
if you need to create a little bit more room, the mouse can get you through the plan set.
Going back to this site plan for just a minute, I just want to reiterate the fact that this is existing structure that is proposed to be demolished and rebuilt from the dirt up. It's really not much of a foundation there right now. It's 1941 era construction, so that's the reason that would come out and be rebuilt. And so the additional encroachment, as Ms. Brodesson said, is just this approximately 6 feet in that area. So I just wanted to point that out again. And this is a shot looking east along that property line. With regard to privacy, and this is a portion of the structure that is proposed to be demolished and rebuilt. The neighbor has constructed a 6-foot fence. This is an approximately 12-foot hedge that goes down the entire property line. So the privacy issue is, at least from our perspective, is not a big deal here. And there's no plan for anything else to go inside the setback. A couple of windows in the proposed development would face onto the setback. Let me jump to elevations, I think, to give you an idea of the project. So again, this is the east elevation, so looking from Oliver Road westward. The existing roof line in here is what we're talking about modifying. And so there'd be a little dormer up here. This roof, shed roof, would be a little bit higher, closer to the eave line, and that's kind of the only changes to the elevation. And those are well set back from the street. You can get a better idea of how far they're set back here. So this is the south elevation. And what's proposed is for this area, so we've got about a 22-foot setback from the property line to the front of the building, and then another 20 feet or so to where the work is going to be occurring. So that second-story modification is set back quite a bit from the front property line. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. The project involves relocating the stairway from this existing stairwell into what is the existing living room. Under the new configuration, the rear property line is the focal point for the house. So the idea is to have windows and kitchen and great room facing that rear landscaping, and the stairway would go here. So the idea for the existing stairwell is just to floor it in, and we get a little alcove library upstairs, which is the additional 60 square feet on the second floor, and then the utility room gets relocated to the lower floor of the stairwell. So I'm happy to answer any questions. But
Great, thank you, Mr. Dassler. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up public comment. If anybody is attending via Zoom, I don't see anyone in the audience, and there may not be anyone on Zoom.
Thank you. We did not receive any speaker slips, and there's no remote public comments, and we did not receive any written correspondence.
Okay, thank you so much. And actually, Mr. Datzler, sorry, if you don't mind coming back. And I do have a couple of questions for you. So maybe if you could just walk me through, I'm looking at, so my purview today is really only the interior setback modification request. So that's really my charge and my purview. And as you mentioned before, the single-family design board is looking at the appearance, the aesthetics, and they've already commented. You'll go back to them after this meeting. Yeah, I'd like to look at the elevation along that interior setback request.
Sorry, let me.
Yeah, and our
this back.
computer can be a little unwieldy, so if, yeah,
that's-
sometimes scrolling.
So, so this is the existing elevation
And that's from the front of the
Well-
from the street.
from the street, yes. This is the east elevation, so looking from the street, and, let's see, so we've got this dimension as 5 feet proposed, 1 foot 8 inch eave, projecting from the roof. So, can you see that? Was there a question?
Yes, so I'm actually looking for the other elevation, kind of going down the length of the residence. So I think it's is it the south elevation?
Yeah, so here,
Okay,
This
there we go,
is
the altered
the
south.
south elevation, right, so here's existing and this is the altered.
So one of my questions is the doorway that's listed as number 2. I think I looked in the plans. It's can you confirm if that's supposed to be a fixed door? Is that what it says in the plans?
It's French doors.
And are they proposed to be fixed?
They're intended to be swinging doors.
Swinging doors.
However, I will say this, my wife and I have just been having a conversation about whether we want doors there at all or just a window. I think probably we will want a window like the existing window.
So one of my questions, because it does say fixed doors on the proposed window schedule, a fixed.
That's intended to convey is the glazing is fixed. It's a
I see.
fixed.
So,
Main.
but the doors themselves, that was one of my questions, is trying to understand why I'm seeing doors. And then the distance from just if you could remind me, I can look it up on the site plan. It's 5 feet to
Right,
the lot line?
right.
Okay.
We can see that over here.
So I think my biggest concern when I see something like that is just using the doors, like comings and goings of, you know, and again, even though there is a hedge, I went out on site and was able to at least look from the front of the property and see the neighbor. I don't know if it's your hedge or the neighbor's hedge, but I see the significant hedge. But anytime there's a door, there's also a light. Building code requires a light. And so that's just, and in terms of nuisance, I think of comings and goings, and I'm kind of like, what's the use of the room? And so these are kind of the questions that I ask and looking at these types of requests. One, as you've identified, looking at privacy, noise, and lighting impacts, because that too, if you have a neighbor's light that's constantly on, that can be bothersome as
We have
well.
one.
And so those are the things that I'm curious about. So yeah, just interested in why you selected the doors and versus the window that was already existing. And it
Yeah,
sounds
so
like you're still
the original
considering.
idea, this is, on the other side of these doors is the dining room. So the additional idea was just to get open air effect, you know, in the dining room, to open those up, leave them open. But we were just having a discussion last week about this very thing and the fact that it limits what we can do with the wall space inside. So we were leaning towards towards just replacing this with an updated window, you know, same size. So if you wanted to make that a condition, we would not, and have the single-family review board
Well,
look at it.
I think, you know, given that, and it's still 5 feet from the lot line, so
It
that's
is.
still, and with the hedge, it's not, I'm not, from a long-term development standpoint, if you chose to maintain that, I don't think it's the worst. I think I would just want to make sure that the lighting would be protected. And again, I'm looking at the floor plan to understand that you're in the dining room, you're not necessarily in a living room or something that, it's just floor plan wise, it might not necessarily be something that would be a noise issue later on. But, I think those are all my questions, and I can go ahead, unless you
I
wanted
will
to share
just
one
point
other
out
thing.
that there is a light shown here, and it's consistent with the other lights that are all meeting the design standards for, you know, downlighting and not whatever the requirement is to prevent
The
light
night sky,
pollution.
right, exactly.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, so it would comply with those. others.
All right, so I can go ahead and make my findings to approve this interior setback modification as drafted in Ms. Brodeson's staff report, that this request is consistent, this interior setback is consistent with the purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance, and it allows for an appropriate improvement on the lot. This particular owner is trying to reconfigure their floor plan to make it a little bit more functional, and after a series of additions, and this just goes to make an appropriate improvement on the lot. And this development will generally result in is consistent with the existing patterns of development for the neighborhood. And I think in terms of the whether you choose to keep the doors or a window, either are appropriate. However, if there's any lighting, exterior lighting, it just needs to be made sure that that's shielded from the next door neighbor. Again, even in despite the hedge in between. So I think that's just my concern, but I'm not going to necessarily add any conditions to that, so long as it complies with the building code regulations and our design guidelines for maintaining light from trespassing. So that is my decision, and I can say that I'm going to announce the 10-day appeal process. If I could ask Jillian to put this on the screen. So my decision is appealable. Anyone within the next 10 calendar days could appeal my decision, or any member of the Planning Commission could pull the item and request it to be reviewed during that same 10-day period. So that goes for that. And that is the last item for this meeting, and I can go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much.